The whole, if he wants alone time, he hates you, thing drives me up the wall. Story 1, shit tests. You should do this to see what he does. That kind of nonsense. Stupid games lead to stupid prizes. Real life isn't a ridiculous Disney movie, romantic comedy, or romance novel. If you're wanting your partner to live in your fantasy land, then I suggest you see a good therapist. Story 2. Literally any kind of mind game or tactic that involves not clearly stating what you want or why you are doing it. If the entire goal is to obscure your real intentions, you are just as bad as a liar. Story 3. Before I give an example, I would say don't take advice from people with a history of bad relationships. Like if you know a woman who constantly says men are not good because all her boyfriends have been problematic, don't listen to her. This works the same way with men, by the way. Anyway, my example is when women tell other women, he likes whatever hobby. Don't date him, he's immature, irresponsible, or boring. I can't tell you how many times I've heard this about cars, fishing, video games, etc. It really is bad advice because you can't always tell how a person will be by what hobby they have. Story 4. Well, general woman-to-woman advice has gotten so bad with TikTok. Like, oh, we're just girls, we have credit card debt, or we do X or Y, or just whatever. Sometimes I feel like I hear way too many girls sound like TikTok bots rather than original people. Story 5. Single women keep other women single. I can't tell you the number of times I've heard girlfriends talk each other out of relationships. Ideally, I'd like my partner's friends to like me, but at the end of the day, I'm not dating them. Story 6. Then you wonder why I moved on to Barbara in accounting, who drops off brownies on my desk, and every Friday there's special brownies. Story 7. As a man, the general feel I get from a group of single women from the internet and some friends is that they tend to give each other advice that would lead them to be single. Story 8. Do not try to make us jealous by talking about other guys who are talking to you or who you've been with. It will not work. It will do the opposite and we will lose interest quickly. We'll assume you're rejecting us and letting us down gently. I've had a couple of girls try this on me, and I quickly left. I later found out from their friends that they liked me and were upset I changed my mind. Sorry, not sorry. Story 9. Anything related to tests. No guy is going to walk away from being tested feeling good. It's wild that some women have convinced themselves it's a normal thing to do. Story 10. 1 a.m. You are fine the way you are. If he can't handle you at your worst, he doesn't deserve you at your best. We all need to work on ourselves to have the best partner. This does not mean overlooking red flags. 1b. There is someone perfect out there for you who will sweep you off your feet. If a man has enough things in common with you and treats you well, he may be the right person. Everyone needs to work on themselves. This does not mean overlooking red flags. 2. Play hard to get. There are a lot of negative repercussions for men to pursue women who may not want to be pursued. Make it clear you are interested, maybe even make the first move. 3. If he is not telling you everything, he is hiding something. Completely untrue. Some people are just not talkers. My wife is actually the quiet one in our relationship. Story 11. All those women who tell women that we aren't human with emotions and to just use us like we are automated teller machines. Ones who tell women that you can't trust any man and therefore it's okay to cheat on men and to mistreat them any way you can. All those bitter women from social media platforms with several failed relationships with men, thinking they know what all men are like because every man that dated them left as soon as they found out what she was really like. Who are giving awful dating advice to women because if they can't be happy with a man, then no woman can. Female dating strategy in a nutshell, basically. I remember seeing a meme on a social media site about men not constantly updating their status daily, and I saw some women thinking that automatically meant that man must be cheating on his girlfriend. Story 12. Make him jealous by paying attention to other men. Also, tell one another it's okay to be with new guys casually, but if he's husband material, make him wait for months. A bunch of women actually advocate this on Reddit. Work intensively on your career and make financial progress. And then when you're 32, start looking around for a guy to marry. Story 13. If he wants alone time, he hates you. Good Lord. My wife and I must hate each other's guts then. She's an introvert, and I'm becoming more of one as time goes on. We've always kept a healthy amount of alone time for ourselves, and it's the best relationship I've ever had. So good I married her. Story 14, almost all of it. Dating advice by and for women is crazy. After inadvertently consuming a lot of this content online, I'm convinced that most women do not understand men in the slightest. One category I'll mention is women's tendency to make things harder and less fun for men they want to seriously date than for men they're just having a casual fling with. Completely nuts, and women tell each other to do this. Story 15. If it is real, it should be effortless. Life is not a Disney movie and you are not a princess. In the real world, almost everything that matters in the long term takes effort. Story 16. Almost all of it. They give that advice because it's applicable to women. Take a woman's advice for dealing with women, but men's wants are so simple that women don't seem to understand. Don't test men. Don't use hints to get what you want. Don't try to use your career as a selling point. Most advice women give will work on only the men they don't actually want. Women, if you want advice about men, talk to men. If it's about a particular man, ask his friends. In the past, if I wanted advice about women, I asked women. Having friends of the opposite sex is a tremendously valuable resource. Story 17. I once had a girlfriend whose friends told her to emotionally neglect me. We had been fighting a lot, and that was definitely not the way to go. She called me and said, "I've come to push you away. Cool, consider me pushed." I broke up with her on the spot. Story 18. Make him chase you. Play hard to get. Be unavailable to him. Do not respond immediately. Make him wait. If he calls you, return the call tomorrow. If he texts you, wait several hours before responding. Do not reveal things to him. Be difficult to get to know. Do not be an open book. Lie to him about yourself. Misrepresent yourself. Act as if you are someone who you are not. Be someone you are not. Pretend to like things you do not like. Pretend not to like things you do like. Make him work for everything he gets from you. Make a relationship with you just as difficult as it can be. A relationship with you should be you making him do all sorts of work. Keep him on his toes. Keep him guessing. Keep him on guard and off balance. Men love drama, gossip, chaos, and uncertainty. Come to him with all your problems and demand that he solve them. Be super emotional. Give him never-ending crying episodes, emotional outbursts, and emotional turmoil. Dump all your emotional baggage on him and demand that he sort through and unpack it. Men are attracted to intelligent, educated women with good jobs, lots of degrees, and hefty bank accounts. Men like fake appearances. Wigs, drawn-on eyebrows, excessive makeup, elaborate nails, and enhancements everywhere. Men do not mind high numbers in women, and the men who do mind are insecure, controlling individuals who are just upset that they cannot have the same success. Lie to him about your number. It is not as if he will ever find out the truth. The more sexual experience you have with different men, the more skilled you get at it. Story 19. Prying women to break off relationships because he's no good, etc. No, it's just because they want you to cut them off so they can contact and hang out with you more often. Story 20. When women think relationships should be a certain way, they advise their friends on how things should be, even though their friends have different tastes and values. For example, she's bad with money, he's good with money, so he does the budgeting. She has given him the authority to veto her purchases, or else they would be in financial ruin. Her friend hears this and convinces her that she's being financially abused. Or women who think they know and understand men, believing that all men act the same way, and if they don't conform, they are toxic, don't love you, or are cheating. Story 21. I've heard or read this one, and I'm sure someone has already posted it, but if he likes you, he'll approach you to ask you out. I can't really understand why this belief is still so strong for a lot of people, but it's not always true. Guys that may like you can and will like you, but not necessarily as a romantic pursuit. So, you're just waiting to never see him approach, slowly getting more annoyed that he hasn't approached, all based on an assumption. That, or they don't know if it's reciprocated clearly enough, so in order to avoid any uncomfortable situation, that can go from bad to worse even, Guys might not ever approach without some level of confidence there is some reciprocation. I don't necessarily think it's entirely wrong since that was a significant social norm for a long time, but society is changing slowly, and guys either never learned how to approach someone or they have, and it never worked, so they've stopped after a few too many times of it either backfiring or being a complete dud, or they worry about the former occurring or worse. Not saying it can't work or happen still, but the assumption that the guy will always make a move first isn't really true anymore. I've actually been learning about more people around me when they met. More often, it was the woman in the relationship who made a move. So either I'm just meeting enough people to skew my perception to think there are more women now who will approach more often than not, or it's just an unlikely chance I've been meeting those people somewhat consistently and it's still much more uncommon to happen. Anyways, it's just bad advice. I understand why it's believed, but it's just not right, at least it's not accurate anymore as a statement. Culture changes, and nobody is going to 100% follow through with what most do or expect. That said, I do understand why it's expected because it does still happen often enough, hence why it's a norm rather than not. Story 22. How to give good handjobs. Do you all actually think you can do this better than I can for myself? Honestly, there's only one way to give a good handjob. The trick is actually pretty simple. Use your mouth. Story 23. Intentionally creating obstacles or playing hard to get to test the commitment of men they think are the one, but make things easy for men they know are players. Story 24. He cheated because he's a pig. A rutting, selfish pig who risked his family and doesn't care about anyone or anything other than his own piggish lust. It's his fault. You cheated because your needs weren't being met by him. So it's his fault. Story 25. When women are growing up, they are given messages from culture, family, and friends that women are better at relationships. It's simply not true, and they disrupt each other's relationships all the time with this kind of advice. Story 26. The whole delusional escape plan stuff that's going around where bitter divorced older women teach younger women to have an escape plan and hide money and all this other stuff on the same younger guys that have literally done nothing to justify those precautions, as they call them. If anything, this whole escape plan mindset just teaches women to fear men who have done them no wrong and treat them like they are predatory abusers in wait, and have the women treat their relationship and families like something you can destroy in an afternoon when the going gets tough at the first sign of trouble. Story 27. They tell each other this and then really believe it because they have a job or education or they are taller or such things. Men are afraid of them so they can't get a man. No, simply they aren't attractive enough for their own expectations. Story 28. If you want bad advice, ask everyone. So in reality, anything, because like it or not, everyone shares a little of their own bias with any issues they have or foresee, so the solution isn't always sound. Story 29. If he wanted to, he would. Leaves no space for Hanlon's razor, cultural reasons, introverts, or the romantically inexperienced. It just contributes to the idea that if a man doesn't know your likes or standards out the gate, especially the ones you haven't stated out loud, he's not worth it. Story 30. I am a woman. Married now, but when I was single, I rarely liked a guy. If I did, I would call them to do something the next day. My female friends thought I was crazy. I probably only scared off 2 guys with my approach. Story 31. As a woman, I think I've been far away from the party crowd. I've mostly found my matches to be very respectful people. Although I've had significant differences with a lot of them to be single now, most of them I'm on good terms with, and not all of which had been sexual in nature. I find a lot of women looking for relationships are seeking the whole package. I think they'd find more loyal, wonderful partners if they were willing to overlook appearances. However, when you're young, you care what others think and how your relationship appears. It happens. Advice I've received is, you're an incredible person. I know you'll find the right guy one day, even in the face of me saying I'm actually okay being single. I'd say 50% of women I meet think being single is worse than being in a relationship. Not every woman knows how to fill their hearts without a partner. You don't understand men. If you understood better, you'd be treated better. This I wholeheartedly disagree with. Some communication is necessary, and being understanding has everything to do with being communicated with as an adult, not being a doormat with diminished needs. I was told this by a female friend with an abusive father. All men want to have sex with everybody. Even if he just intends to be your friend, he'll still willingly have sex with you. A man told me this, and many women confirmed. I agree with this, but I don't think it's inherently threatening. I have never been sexually turned down by a man before. I have been emotionally rejected many times. I'm only threatened by the idea of being lied to, but as long as the communication is honest, I really have no issue with men wondering and moving on. I have a low body count, so it's just weird trying to understand what a man's intentions really are. It's very hard to know if a man is into you emotionally. Story 32. You need to let him know that you expect princess treatment and that you expect to be looked after financially. The hunter in him will pick up on this and make you a priority. No, fam. It's ugly.